This is a show where we do exclusive talks with successful entrepreneurs from all around the world. You hear their stories, their challenges, and advice that you can use when starting your own business. Take notes and take action. Let's go. Hi, I'm your host Angelo Genao, and welcome to Build Different, episode number 2, finding a need in the market and executing multiple businesses. Our next guest is Ryan Kilpatrick, a serial entrepreneur who started with an RV and a dream. He was able to make a business around vinyl decals, Christmas sweaters, and nautical decor. He was able to quit his full-time sales job, finding a need in the market, and execute multiple online businesses. Listen closely to this talk because you may find yourself in a situation similar to his and be able to start your own business. Stay tuned until the end for my top takeaways, and without any further ado, here's the story. Before we get into the talk, let's give thanks to our good friends over at Skillshare for supporting the show. Skillshare is a service where you can learn new skills online, such as filmmaking, business, design, or even photography. And there's over 23,000 classes from experts from around the world. Skillshare is honestly a great place to get started if you're trying to expand your current skill set or even learn and try something that you've never tried before. If you're interested in learning a new skill or want to see my top recommended classes for entrepreneurs, click the link below. The first 500 people that sign up are going to get the first 2 months for free and receive an invitation to our secret Facebook community of entrepreneurs. Once you sign up, you'll have access to unlimited premium courses, and if for any reason you don't like it, Skillshare makes it super easy to cancel within your trial period without getting charged. So if you want to learn a new skill and be a part of the first 500 people that get 2 months free, make sure to click the link below. Now back to the show.
My name is Ryan Kilpatrick. I have 3 small businesses, all kind of related around e-commerce sales.
Okay.
So the name that would probably stick out the most if you searched it was Tippett Designs. Mm-hmm. We make light up Christmas sweaters. Those are one of our biggest claim to fame. We've had Miami Heat's Chris Bosh wear them, Morgan Spurlock. So we make those during Christmas. So It's almost a couple times, and then we do vinyl decals. And then I have a nautical decor based business. So 3 things that keep me pretty busy.
Which one is your core business? Which one are you generating the most revenue from?
It's kind of funny. Decals is the year round. Okay. So decals keeps me fed, keeps the income coming. And then Christmas sweaters is like the year end bonus tax stuff. So I think my biggest baby is the decals because that's kind of like the thing I started when I was traveling.
Okay.
But they all fund me well. And I delegate I use the funds in different ways, so it's nice.
Okay, tell me about the decals business. How did you go ahead and start that?
Oh, well, I was 26 and I was working in sales and I was just over it. I hated just sitting at a desk 9 to 5. I was burned out. So I texted a friend of mine and I said, hey, let's quit our jobs. We both had a little money. I was like, let's buy an RV and we'll just travel around the country. And we wanted to start businesses while we were doing that. And the decals was just kind of a byproduct of that idea. Okay. The cutter is 4 foot wide. So we bought a cutter, had it shipped to Florida, and we picked it up at a UPS store. A cutter is what cuts the vinyl decals. Mm-hmm. And we bolted it to the back of the RV in one of the bedrooms. And we started the business in the RV while we were traveling. So it's just we'd stop, we'd cut the decals that people ordered on Etsy, ship them out at the local post office, and then go to our next spot. So that's why it's kind of my baby. It actually helped me travel the country. So it was a great way to start it, and we were able to make them in the RV, ship them from the RV, and keep traveling.
That is so cool. I mean, I'm trying to wrap my head around this business model. So you're traveling. The moment it hit you, we need to start a decals business. What was it? So you found the cutout. And then what happened from there?
We had a friend of ours, my business partner at the time's friend was doing small decals and shipping them on Amazon. But we wanted to do large decals to put on cars, boats, interior walls. And that's why we bought the larger cutter. And we were able to outfit our RV with our Instagram names and our business and our telephone number. So we actually had sales generated from being in parks or driving. We actually stopped at a rest stop one time and made a guy that was following us in his car a decal. So it was the perfect business to start while traveling because we could do it in the RV, like I said, and it's a high gross on the decals, so it it was perfect, and it just worked out because we had a 30-foot RV, so we dedicated about half of it to this little vinyl workshop, and
Mm-hmm.
we break down the tables and stuff in the kitchen to finish off the decals, and then roll them up, put them in tubes, write the shipping label on them, and then just ask our phone where the nearest post office was and take them and drop them off.
Man, that is genius.
And then when we got back and we set it up into more of a business structure,
Mm-hmm.
a lot more designs. We do business now with local places where we just make their decals and they install them. So it's become much more of a business since we stopped traveling, but it was started all from camping out at Home Depots, taking their Wi-Fi and building the business online through in the RV. So it was very cool.
Man, that is awesome. While you were starting your decals business and traveling, were you facing any challenges while you was starting out, or was it just easy?
It was very challenging because we didn't know at all what we were doing. We knew we wanted to do decals, so when we bought the cutter and had it shipped to Florida, when we got it, we didn't know what we were doing at all. So it was just a lot of learning. The thing with vinyl is it's very touchy. You have to have the right settings for it to work properly.
Ah.
And then just how to generate sales. Anytime you start an e-commerce business, you're low on the totem pole when it comes to SEO and the algorithms and things like that. So it was just a slow process of building it up. And then we started an Instagram at the same time for our travel, and that helped generate some revenue because people were invested in us and what we were doing while we were traveling. So that it was very challenging, but very rewarding because you could literally see yourself making money as you're making them in the RV. So it was great.
That's super cool. Walk me through the feeling you had when you decided to quit your job with your best friend. Were you confident that you were gonna, make a business and be successful at it, or were you a little scared? Walk me through that.
When I quit, I was making good money. So when I quit, I was super anxious and nervous, not because of not trusting myself to do it on my own, but just because you're walking away from security. And I think that's the biggest hurdle for most entrepreneurs is once it becomes your thing and it's all on you, it's more stressful because you always have a consistent paycheck coming from someone else until you cut that off. And then all of a sudden, if you don't make money, you don't pay your bills. And that's different. But I also have a very specific motto and lifestyle that I live. I try to live on much less than I make.
Okay.
So I was able to have money in the bank that I had a year where I didn't have to stress about paying my bills. And that is where my have less, do more comes from. That's my motto, is have less bills and be able to do more things. Is people don't understand that if you have $2,000 a month in bills and you're making $2,000, it's going to be hard for you to walk away. But if you have $500 bills and make $2,000 and you save for 6 months, then all of a sudden you have 6 to 8 months where you don't need to stress about it. And work will always be there. A 9 to 5 will always be there, especially if you keep your bills low. I mean, like if I had to go back to a job right now and pay for my bills, I'd have to go back and work 30 hours a month because I keep my bills low. So I think if you can alleviate the stresses before you take the jump, it will make it easier for you. But it'll never be easy.
Yeah, I hear that. How long has it been since you started that business?
I've been self-employed now for 5 years.
Wow.
So it worked out, but it was very tight at the beginning. I was paying bills out of my savings. Like we weren't generating enough to pay both of us enough to survive, but we had savings. So it's just, all of a sudden you hit this tipping point where you start making enough, and then it's really rewarding because you're like, okay, I'm self-funded now. But it was hard at the beginning. But the Christmas sweaters, I quit in February, so we survived for 10 months, and then Christmas sweaters is a pretty good chunk of change. So then it kind of reset us and got us back into it.
That's super cool, man. And I know there are many different, decal business. What separates you guys from the bunch?
I think what separates us on Etsy is we do it full time. Okay. A lot of entrepreneurs are part-time entrepreneurs. And it doesn't allow you to allocate time directly to it. So when we get a message on Etsy, I respond to it in 1 minute. When we have a custom order, I respond to it in 1 minute. And a lot of times they say, wow, thank you so much for responding. Well, I have that option. I can work at 2 in the morning. You know, if I get a order from overseas where they're asking me questions and it's morning their time, night my time, I can take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, I think that's the benefit of diving in full time is it's your baby now.
Yeah.
You don't have to juggle your career with your career. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Walk me through your marketing strategy. I mean, we know you're on Etsy. How are you marketing? What are your strategies?
With Etsy, we use their promoted listings, so you can actually pay them to promote you, and that has good ROI for us on there. And then at the beginning, we used Instagram with my other Instagram account, and that, like I said, that people were invested in us and our journey, and they would pay to have our decals made. So that really helped us at the beginning generate organic growth. And now we do Instagram. My other Instagram account is quite large, and I'm able to send stuff out to people if I'm trying to generate it. But honestly, I'm at kind of a sweet spot right now where I'm not trying to get a ton busier because honestly, I'm not the entrepreneur that wants to work 80 hours a week. You know, I want to have freedom of life and freedom of choice.
Yes.
And, you know, it's never really been a dollar. Like I have no aspirations to become a multimillionaire. I just have aspirations to have a freedom of choice from when I wake up to when I go to sleep. So it's definitely in a sweet spot now between all the businesses.
Yes. Speaking of waking up till you go to sleep, walk me through your day to day. What do you do from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep? Walk me through step by step what you do to build your business.
It depends on the day, honestly. I mean, I have dedicated work days where I just get up. Like today, I got up and I just start working because everything is from my home. So my whole basement is my shop. So I just go down and start working. And then I have lunch. Now I'm talking to you. And then when we're done, I go back to work. And then honestly, some days I'm just relaxed. I'm just on the computer, learning, you know, other ways to build my business. And then it's really, for me, it's not so much the hours you have in the day, it's what you do with the hours. So I'm not the entrepreneur that says you need to get up at 5 and go to bed at midnight and do it all over again. I'm like, if I want to sleep till 9, I'm sleeping till 9. You know, but if I want to wake up at 5, I'll wake up at 5. It's just about execution.
Yeah. Does any of so you wake up, let's say it's a busy day, you're getting a lot of orders, right? Do you do anything specific in the morning? Do you answer emails? Do you reply back? What are you doing?
I go down in the shop and I write out basically all the orders for the day.
Okay.
What needs to get done? I have 2 boards up on the wall that just lists all the orders. And as those orders, the beauty of what I do, honestly, is the vinyl has a CNC machine that cuts them out.
Okay.
And some of the orders take maybe 30 minutes to cut out. So I get down there, I set a cut, and then I can work on emails. I can work on marketing. I can watch YouTube videos to learn. I can relax. I mean, it's any number of things. So it's very nice to be able to make money while being able to then do other parts of your business at the same time. Where a lot of the times, you know, if you have a job where you have to be actually in motion to make the money, it's a little bit different. So I'm blessed with the ability to work and work at the same time instead of having to just do one thing at a time.
That's super cool. Does any of like your day to day is any of it stressful at all? Does it get stressful?
Not really anymore, honestly. I think the one big stress for me is I'm not a note taker kind of guy.
Okay.
I'm a mental checklist kind of guy. So when it gets busy, all of a sudden my brain is super busy. And then I'll notice at the end of the day I'm just fried because I don't actually take I have to just remember everything I have to do in order. And when Christmas sweaters get going for those 2 months, we do them from middle of October to middle of December. It's pure chaos for me. I get up and I do the Christmas sweaters, then I go in the basement and do vinyl, and then I come back up and do Christmas sweaters. But that's just 2 months, you know. Okay. So for me, it's totally worth it, and I enjoy it. But it is
insane.
Because you know, it's just me now. I bought out my business partner, so everything is run through me, and that is one thing that I'm working on as I go. Is to I'm an hourly employee at my job.
Okay.
You know, even though they're mine, they all flow through me. And at some point, if I want the freedom, you know, I have freedom for a week, 10 days at a time, but then I need to get back to work. So if I want longer trips or longer vacations or whatever it is, or if I want more time to start a different business, I need to work on removing myself from the labor side of it. But that's part of the grind. That's part of the build up, and I don't mind it now. So.
Yeah. Do you have anyone working for you, or are you outsourcing any of your projects?
Nothing's outsourced. I do the vinyl business almost all by myself.
Okay.
I used to have an employee, but I've made the process more streamlined, so it's easier for me to do it by myself. And then during Christmas, I have about 4 people that work for me and help me.
Yeah.
Because it's just crazy. And we make these light up Christmas sweaters that have lights in them, and all the lights are put in by hand. So I have employees that come in and put the lights in by hand.
Is it like battery operated?
Yep, it's LED lighting that runs off a little battery pack that you put in your pocket, and they blink and they flash. They're tons of fun. But we sell on average probably about 30 a day through the whole season. So some days you make 30, which isn't too bad, but then there's some days where you have to make about 90 in an 8-hour window, so it gets a little bit chaotic. While doing the nautical decor and the vinyl.
Yeah.
So it's a busy couple months.
I mean, I could imagine. Are you selling those online or just locally?
Yep, online through Etsy. We do anywhere from 800 to 1,200 of them in a season. So it doesn't seem like a ton, but when you're making them all by yourself or with a couple people, it's a lot. It keeps you busy.
Absolutely.
And then vinyl normally picks up during Christmas as well. So
yes,
you have to
hustle,
learn how because everything amps up, so you got to be prepared for it. And then as soon as Christmas hits, it's gone. Everything dies right back down. So you have to really be able to be prepared, or else you're behind the whole season, and that's really rough.
Yeah. And what would you say as a business owner? I know many people want to know. What are your most valuable skills as a business owner?
My skills is execution, without a doubt.
Okay.
I mean, I can know what I need to do in a day, and I can lay it all out so it gets done. It's a weird correlation, but I used to be a cook when I was younger. When you cook in a restaurant, everything has to be in steps for everything to come together at the right time.
Okay.
You know, if you make the mashed potatoes 10 minutes before the steak gets done, mashed potatoes are cold. So that is just translated into my entrepreneur life. I know what needs to get done at what time for everything to get done at the end of the day, and I never feel behind. That's one thing that I've always prided myself in, is if it needs to get done, I'll get up at 5 and I'll work till midnight, you know, and I'm good at that. And then when I had my business partner, his strength was creativity, and so it was a very good yin-yang.
Yeah.
He wasn't the execution, he was the creativity, and it just worked out very well. But then as we've grown, he actually moved to California, and it just wasn't working with logistics, but he's still a really good friend of mine. I just bought him out, so now they're mine. But now the creativity doesn't need to be there as much because we're already established.
Yes. And I mean, we know your backstory, how you quit your job in order to pursue, your entrepreneur journey. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the happiest, how happy are you that you made the decision to start your own business, and why?
I would say 8, because I hate to say regret. I don't like that term because I'm happy with where I am now, but I wish I would have done it earlier. So every time I think of, being where I am now, I think about, there's a part of me that's like, where could you have been if you trusted it at the beginning? Because I've always wanted what I have now. Okay. I'm living a life that I've dreamed of when I was younger, having freedom, being able to generate my own income. But it took me, until I was 26, so I'd been working for 10 years to really trust it. Yeah. And part of that was the way I was spending my money when I was making money, because I didn't really have the freedom to take the gamble. But then part of it was not having the strength to just go for it. And I think that's different for each person. There's people that need to jump in with both feet, and then there's people that need to test the waters, because I think a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs that aren't entrepreneurs. So it's just, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
It just might not be your strength, but a lot of people see entrepreneurship as this like magical ride of money and freedom, when it's not. It's a grind, especially at the beginning, and you lose all sense of security. And if you have a wife and kids, it's completely different too. Where I'm married and I don't have kids, so it's a little bit easier on that aspect too. Yeah,
tell me about that grind. How long did it take you to see your first dollar when you first started?
I think our first year I made $3,000.
Okay.
The whole year. So that's by no means my first dollar. I think really for me to feel great about it was honestly probably about the last 2 years. So it took me about 3.5 years to get to where I was comfortable with it, where I wasn't stockpiling every dollar waiting for sales to not be there that day. And that's the thing with sales when you're doing it is you may have a great week and then you may have a slow month. So you can't spend all the great week. You have to kind of anticipate the ups and downs of things. So the last couple years, but I was happy the whole time. I was happy with the grind and not having a lot of money because I was doing it for me. I was poor working for someone else, and then I've been poor working for myself, and I'd much rather be poor working for myself.
And just for perspective, the first year was $3,000. How much are you making now?
Between the businesses, I try to pay myself a salary, so maybe around $60,000. But then I stockpile a lot, and it all depends on sales. I mean, 1 year you could do really well, and the next year you don't. But it's been very consistent with growth. We do about 10% growth every year over year for the last 4 years. So cool. And then I bought my business partner out, so now his 50% is my 50%. But I never live based on my income. I live below my income always, and that wouldn't change if I was making $400,000 a year or if I was making $50,000 a year. I always live below it.
And if you had the chance to, go back in time, aside from like starting earlier, would you tell yourself anything different? Would you give yourself any advice?
I would. Besides starting earlier, I think being patient it would be another thing. I think when you start on your own, you instantly have a vision of this success. And that's just not the way it plays out. And if you're focused on the end goal without enjoying the process, it's just going to be work because you want something that's not there yet. But if you enjoy kind of the grind, like I talk about, or the having patience with the process, Gary Vee is a big guy I look up to, and he talks about that now, and I've been feeling that for years. And so it is true, because if you just want to make $100,000 a year on your own thing, you're not going to love it. You have to your goals have to be bigger than finances. It has to be bigger than sales. It has to be lifestyle and a commitment to what you're doing. Because if you quit your job to do something you don't enjoy, it's still work. You know what I mean? It's just, it won't fulfill you the way I think people think it will.
I agree. And let me go ahead and just give you a quick scenario here. All right, let's just say hypothetically, you were stuck in a random city somewhere, and you had no business, you have no money. All you have is $150 and a laptop to your name. Those are the only two resources that you have. What would you do? What steps will you take to start your business, or start a business, or start making money? What steps will you take with those resources?
I think you pay attention to what is popular at the time. I know when I do investments now, I'm big into the stock market and things like that. And you got to pay attention to the flow. Where's people's attention? Where do people put their money? And for me, my businesses has always been high income gross on something that's easily shipped. Because I think a lot of people, they want to, let's say, make a kitchen table or, all these things that they don't realize cost $500-$600 to ship worldwide. And I can ship to every country in the world from my basement. And I think that's how I would build another business. It's something that you can, it used to be you wanted to buy a franchise, or you used to want to start a brick and mortar. And now you can literally sell to the entire world from your phone. So find a way to do that. Whatever it was, I'd buy $150 worth of something and list it online, and then I would take the profit from that and I'd flip it and I'd flip it and I'd flip it. Because there's no point in opening a brick and mortar in a town where you can sell to 1,000 when you can open an online store and sell to the entire world.
Yep, I agree. And if you had, just one piece of advice for someone starting out their grind, starting out their journey, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to not to fall in love with something that they're wrong about. Like Gary Vee always says, the market tells you the truth. And I think a lot of people start something and they're focused. They think they always say, well, it's a $9 million market or $9 billion market. Well, yeah, but if your product stinks or you can't execute, it doesn't matter how big the market is. And I think that was something that was hard for me at the beginning was, Etsy has millions and millions and millions of users. Well, how come we weren't selling at the beginning? How could we only sell one decal a day? Well, we weren't very good. Our website wasn't good. We were just starting, and you have to make sure that the thing that you're doing is the right thing, because if you fall in love with something that isn't going to make you money, you're just going to spend a lot of time chasing your tail. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much for jumping on the call. I do appreciate it. Just to wrap this up, do you have any last messages or advice, any shout outs you'd like to do?
You can follow me on Embrace the Recoil on Instagram. I do a lot of shooting in my spare time, so that's my big thing. And I answer every single DM I get. So if anyone has questions or comments or anything, I'm always there to talk to people. So, and thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Matt, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. Here are my top 3 takeaways. Take risks. Ryan was able to start a very successful decals business solely based on opportunity. He saw the vinyl cutter for sale and took a risk and bought it. He knew nothing about the business when he first started, but he knew that he had to at least try. Taking risks comes with the territory of entrepreneurship, so get used to it. Live on less. Ryan was able to quit his job because he put himself in a position to have money in the bank. This allowed him to quit his job comfortably and have the capital to start a business. Before you quit your job, make sure you can live off your savings for a good amount of time. Enjoy the process. Ryan stated that when you first start your business, you have this vision of success and it doesn't always play out. Enjoy the process before you get to the end goal, or it'll feel like work. That's all for today. If you like what you see, consider subscribing and press that notification bell to be notified when we post. Today's quote: "The way you get started is to quit talking and begin doing." Walt Disney. Peace.